Holly Reynolds. I work for Martin Zombek Construction Services in East Syracuse, New York. And I am the accounting manager of Martin Zombek. We are a union drywall subcontractor, and we primarily deal with contracts within New York State, roughly in the Albany, Syracuse area, up north, sometimes in Buffalo. WorkMax itself for over a year, and then with About Time, the sister company, for over 5 years now. Martin Zombek switched from About Time to WorkMax because it was a more user-friendly product. It was easier for the guys to manage in the field. It also had more capabilities that we needed and more functions, reporting functions, made it more seamless from the field to the office, and you could see time instantaneously without syncing as much in the field. Some of the main differences between About Time and WorkMax that I can see personally were definitely the syncing features. You didn't have to constantly hound the field to sync every day so that you could see the time, which is a huge help for the office because they don't always remember to do those little things in the field. Also, the memory function of remembering the last location and making sure that someone's actually clocking into a phase or a task. So having those items restricted are really nice. The switch from About Time to WorkMax, I guess the easiest thing about it was that it was kind of the same platform that the guys were already using. So there wasn't a ton of training that needed to be done. They were already familiar with the time clock app and using it. And it was just a matter of learning where things were again and understanding, okay, I have to log in here, or this is where it's going to show me where my location is and stuff like that. I would encourage other contractors to switch over to cloud-based because it's more of a seamless feature. It's definitely something that the office sees a lot of advantage of, as well as the field. You can actually help the field interact with them and log onto their screen and make sure that they're seeing everything properly. Plus, there's an update feature. So if you do have to, let's say, add a phase or add a cost code to a job, you can take that information, click a button, and then tell them to sync their time clock, and boom, they see it. It's not something that you have to wait for. The process and rollout for WorkMax was something where I went through training, myself and one other person in the office went through training here remotely. And then what we did was I went through and took a ton of screenshots that weren't on the videos that WorkMax already provided. And then I just highlighted certain things so that I could create a PDF for the guys in the field to refer back to and say, okay, that's what that button does. That's what that button does. And then they can have a quick and easy access for when they did get confused or didn't know where something was. And it seemed to work out pretty good. We also did a little Zoom call between myself and all of the foremen, and I walked them through it and I showed them the videos where they could find all of the help online through WorkMax website, and everything seemed to roll out pretty smoothly. Looking back, I would probably have been a little bit more prepared for the questions in the field. And I would have liked to have gotten everyone on the same call at the same time. It is a tough thing to do when you have people running all sorts of job sites. But in the end, ultimately worked out pretty well. We had to do a couple of different Zoom calls and trainings and stuff like that. And I still do trainings every now and again. The overtime rules in WorkMax and the pay rates are definitely utilized. I know that was something initially set up in our training, so it's not something that I've had to go back into and adjust. They're working well. Anything over 40 hours, automatically when you process it, gets pushed over to overtime, so I don't even have to think about it. And then using the Connect Max to remote into our software, it takes that overtime rate and puts it at the correct earn code in our software system. So I can't complain about that. It's nice to not have to think about it and to know that if we do it correctly in WorkMax, it converts over correctly in our software system, and we just do a once over double check and everything looks great. Set it and forget it. And we always get pushback in the field when you convert over to a new program, especially being technologically advanced or, not advanced in the field. And they like to do everything old school, but with the proper training and constant teachings of how to use the program, and just as they come up, if there's any errors, we address them right away so that they understand that it is easy to use and it is a nice thing to have in the field, and it's not cumbersome to them as long as we can reiterate that on a constant basis, and they eventually start to think that themselves. Then we're all on the same team. We all have the same goal to make things easier, and that's ultimately why we chose this program. There is one person in the field who we will say does not like using technology. So even when he accidentally clocked into the system because he was clocking somebody else in, it was a big surprise to see his name on the list when we ran reports. So I know that he can do it. And I know that he uses it for other people. It's just getting him to use it for himself. But yeah, it was a big shock to see him to see him in the system all on his own. So I know the potential's there. Working with paper time cards versus About Time or WorkMax and having that time card app that I've noticed, the biggest issue is having the information on time when you need it, first off and foremost, because I can go online and I can run a report and I can see their information. Whether or not they clocked in and out, that's another separate issue to address. But I'm not chasing down paper time cards, and I'm not calling 15 guys looking for their time or saying, I can't read your time card. What is this? And how do I code it? So it is nice to have that streamline and that ability to run your reports when you need to run reports. And for us at Martin Zombek, we run daily review reports and send it out to the field so they can correct it on a day-to-day basis. And knowing that on Friday or Monday when you do your payroll, it's almost all reviewed. You're only going to be reviewing a couple more days, and it makes the whole payroll process so much easier knowing that the rest of the week has been reviewed and corrected and everybody's up to date. Being able to verify with the general contractor how many guys are on site on a day-to-day basis is something we utilize. We utilize the roll call review report, and every morning that roll call gets sent out to all the project managers and the foremen so that when the president of the company gets a phone call at 8 o'clock in the morning, why are there no guys on site? He can look at the email and say, okay, I got my roll call report and there's 6 guys on site and they've been there since such and such time, so I don't know what you're talking about. We do use Foundation as our other accounting software with WorkMax. And the integration from WorkMax to Foundation is pretty seamless. We go into the ConnectMax and we export our files. And that's another verification when we are in ConnectMax, that we can separate the exports between office employees and field employees if they're all on different pay cycles, which is nice. Or you can differentiate between the layoffs that have to get paid right away versus the weekly guys who get paid on your regular payday. So it is nice to have that flexibility to separate out 3 guys from the 30 guys and make sure that they get paid separately and paid right away. And the exports to a CSV file, and I go in Foundation and I click an import button and it imports everything, earn codes, hours, all that information right into Foundation. And then it's just a review process to make sure that we did everything correctly in WorkMax. The feedback that I would give to a person looking to switch over and not necessarily there yet because they're getting pushback from office personnel or field personnel is that if you like the product and you think it's going to be useful, it is definitely worth implementing in the office and in the field and having that follow through and going through the training. Getting trained yourself as office staff first is definitely the best policy. And then seeing how long it would take from a field perspective, how long would you as an office staff think it would take to train that person and get that implemented? Train those key employees first, get them knowledgeable, and then let them train the rest of the field guys. Because once you have a few people on your side and they realize that this is really going to work and it's going to save us time and it's going to benefit us by showing us who's in the field when we need it, you have that backing, you have that support, and it'll be so much more easier to implement everywhere in the field, in the office, once you have that support from a couple other people. Yes, I have used WorkMax for audits, and it has made the audit process very smooth, very easy. I was able to gather that information, save it in a file, send it over to the auditor, and they do what they need to do, and they matched it up with how we paid the guys, and it was smooth and seamless, and super easy. I mean, what else do you want from an audit is for it to be easy, so.